The worn sneakers, the faded grocery store uniform with the name tag barely hanging on, the way my daughter Sophia kept her eyes down when I spotted her at the food court in the mall, counting coins to buy a small coffee. I almost didn't recognize her. My daughter, who used to wear designer clothes, who drove a brand new SUV I'd helped her buy just 2 years ago, was now sitting alone in the food court looking like she hadn't slept in days. "Sophia?" I walked up to her table. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? Where's Emma?" My 4-year-old granddaughter should have been with her. It was Wednesday afternoon, Sophia's day off from her nursing job at the hospital. She looked up, and I saw it. The dark circles under her eyes, the way her hand trembled slightly as she set down her coffee cup, the flash of fear before she tried to smile. "Hi, Mom." "Emma's with Richard and his mother. They're taking her to the park." Richard, her husband, and Diane, her mother-in-law. "Where's your car?" I asked, sliding into the seat across from her. "The Highlander I helped you get?" Sophia's smile faltered. She looked away, toward the entrance of the mall. "Richard needed it for work. His truck broke down last month." "For a month?" I kept my voice calm, but something cold settled in my stomach. "What have you been driving?" "The bus." "It's fine, Mom, really." She tried to laugh. "Saves on gas money." I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. The weight she'd lost, the uniform that hung loose on her frame, the way she kept glancing at her phone like she was expecting something. Or someone. "Sophia." I reached across the table and took her hand. It was ice cold despite the warm California afternoon. "Tell me what's happening." She pulled her hand back. "Nothing's happening. Everything's fine. I need to go soon. Richard said he'd call when they're done at the park." "Why didn't you go with them to the park?" "I had some errands to run." "What errands?" "Just stuff." She stood up abruptly. "I should go. I need to catch the 3:15 bus." I stood too. "I'll drive you home." "No!" The word came out sharp, almost panicked, then softer. "No, Mom, I'm fine. The bus is fine." We stood there in the middle of the food court, surrounded by the noise of families having lunch, teenagers laughing, the smell of pizza and Chinese food. And my daughter looked at me with eyes that were asking me to please not push this. But I was her mother, and I'd been a real estate attorney for 33 years before I retired. I knew when someone was hiding something. I knew when someone was afraid. "Sophia, where do you live now?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "Same place. The house on Maple Street. The house she and Richard had bought 3 years ago. The charming 2-story colonial, with the white picket fence and the oak tree in the front yard. I'd been there dozens of times. But something in her face told me that wasn't the whole truth. "Have you had lunch?" I asked instead. "I'm not hungry." "Sophia Marie, sit down." I used my mother voice, the one that still worked even though she was 38 years old. "Sit down and let me buy you lunch. When's the last time you ate a real meal?" She hesitated, then slowly sank back into her chair. I went to the Chinese place and ordered way too much food. When I came back with the tray, she was staring at her phone again. "He's checking up on you, isn't he?" I set the food down. "Richard." She didn't answer, just picked up the chopsticks and started eating. And the way she ate fast, mechanical, like someone who hadn't had enough food in a while, told me everything I needed to know. "Sophia, talk to me." "There's nothing to talk about. Your father and I didn't raise a liar." She stopped eating, set down the chopsticks, and finally, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Mom, I can't. If I tell you, it'll make everything worse. Please, just let it go." "Let what go?" "All of it." Her voice cracked. "Richard and Diane, they have everything. The house, the car, my credit cards, even my bank account. They control everything. And if I don't do exactly what they say, they'll..." She stopped. "They'll what?" She wiped her eyes roughly. "They'll make sure I never see Emma again. Diane's already told me she has a lawyer ready. She said I'm an unfit mother because I work too much, because I can't afford to give Emma the life she deserves. She said if I try to leave or if I tell anyone what's happening, she'll take Emma and I'll never get her back." The food court noise faded into background static. All I could hear was my daughter's voice, shaking with fear and exhaustion. "When did this start?" 6 months ago. Richard lost his job. Or he said he lost it, I don't know anymore. Everything he tells me is a lie. Diane convinced him that we should move in with her to save money. But once we moved out of our house on Maple Street, they changed the locks. Told me the house was in Richard's name only, even though I'd been paying half the mortgage. They rented it out. I don't know where that money goes. And they took your car. Richard said he needed it for job interviews. That was 4 months ago. Then they took my credit cards because Diane said I was spending too much. Then my paychecks, Richard had me sign some papers, said it was for a joint account, but now I can't access my own money. Diane gives me $20 a week for expenses. That's it. Everything I earn goes to them. I felt my hands curl into fists under the table. Did you go to the police? I tried. She laughed, a broken sound. I went to the police station 3 weeks ago, told them everything, but the officer said it was a civil matter, not criminal. He said because Richard is my husband, and I'd signed papers giving him access to the accounts, there wasn't much they could do. He told me to get a lawyer. And? With what money, Mom? I can't even afford bus fare half the time, and if I try to save any money, Diane goes through my things. She found $40 I'd hidden in my locker at work last month. She said I was stealing from the family and didn't let me see Emma for 3 days. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I can't lose her, Mom. She's all I have. I thought about my granddaughter. Sweet Emma with her curly hair and gap-toothed smile. Emma who called me Gamma and loved when I read her stories about princesses. Where are you living now? Sophia looked down. In their garage. They gave me an air mattress and an old space heater. Diane said, until I prove I can be responsible, I can't sleep in the house. Emma's room is upstairs, and I can only see her when they allow it. Jesus Christ, Sophia. I know. She was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. I know it's bad, but if I leave, if I fight back, they'll use everything against me in court. Diane's already taken pictures of the garage, saying that's where I choose to live. She's documented every time I've worked a double shift, saying I prioritize work over my daughter. She's building a case, Mom, and I'm so tired. I'm so tired I can barely think straight. I watched my daughter fall apart across a food court table, and I made a decision. Listen to me very carefully, I said quietly. I need you to do exactly what you've been doing. Go home. Act normal. Don't tell Richard or Diane about this conversation. Can you do that? She wiped her eyes. Why? Because I'm going to handle this. Mom, you can't. They'll... Sophia. I waited until she looked at me. I was a real estate attorney for over 3 decades. Do you know what I spent most of my time doing? She shook her head. Fraud cases. People who tried to steal property, manipulate deeds, forge signatures. I've seen every trick in the book, and I know how to prove it. More importantly, I know people. Lawyers, judges, investigators. And I know exactly what your husband and mother-in-law have done wrong. But the police said, the police deal with criminal law. This is civil law, property law, family law. And there are very specific laws about financial abuse, coercion, and parental rights. What they're doing to you isn't just cruel, Sophia. It's illegal. Multiple counts. Hope flickered in her eyes. Really? Really. But I need you to trust me and stay quiet. Can you do that for maybe 2 weeks? What are you going to do? I smiled. Not a nice smile. I'm going to remind your husband and his mother that they messed with the wrong family. She grabbed my hand. Mom, please be careful. Diane, she's mean. She's really mean. Sweetheart. I squeezed her hand back. So am I. The next morning, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Margaret Chen, who'd been my paralegal for 15 years before I retired. She now worked for the best family law attorney in Los Angeles County. Margaret, I need a favor. By the end of the call, I had an appointment with the attorney for the next day, and Margaret had already started pulling property records for the house on Maple Street. The second call was to my old colleague James Rodriguez, who'd left law to become a private investigator. James, how would you feel about doing some surveillance work? For you, Helen? Always. What am I looking at? Financial fraud, coercion, possible forgery. And I need photographic evidence of living conditions. Send me the details. I'll start tomorrow. The third call was to the bank where Sophia had her original account before Richard consolidated everything. Hi, This is Helen Mitchell. I need to speak to someone about accessing account records for my daughter, Sophia Mitchell Reynolds. Yes, I'll hold. 15 minutes later, I had confirmation that I could obtain records with Sophia's written permission, and those records would show exactly where her money had been going. That evening, I drove past the house on Maple Street, the house I'd helped Sophia and Richard buy, the house where I'd spent Christmas mornings and Emma's birthday parties. There was a for rent sign in the yard now, and through the windows, I could see it was empty. I took pictures. Lots of pictures. Then I drove to Diane's house in the expensive neighborhood she was always bragging about, the house with the 3-car garage and the manicured lawn. I parked down the street and waited. At 7:30 p.m., I saw Richard pull up in Sophia's Highlander. He got out, went into the house through the front door, like he lived there, which apparently he did. At 8:15 p.m., the garage door opened, and I saw exactly where my daughter was living. A cement floor, an air mattress in the corner, a plastic storage bin that probably held her clothes, a space heater that looked like a fire hazard, and Sophia, sitting on that air mattress in her grocery store uniform, eating something from a paper bag. My daughter. My brilliant, kind, hard-working daughter who'd put herself through nursing school, who'd married Richard because she thought he was a good man, who'd given Diane a chance because she thought family was important, living in a garage like she was worthless. I took more pictures, video too. Then I called James. I need you to accelerate the timeline, and I need you to be there tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The next 2 weeks were busy. Margaret found that the house on Maple Street was indeed in both Sophia and Richard's names. The mortgage had been paid off by Sophia's parents as a wedding gift, so there was no loan. Richard had rented it out for $3,800 a month. That money was going into an account solely in his name. Illegal. That's marital property. He owed her half of every penny. James got footage of Diane going through Sophia's things in the garage. Audio of Diane telling Emma, "Your mother doesn't care about you anymore. That's why she lives out here instead of with us." Illegal. Parental alienation. Emotional abuse of a minor. The bank records showed that Richard had forged Sophia's signature on at least 4 documents, including the one that removed her from their joint account and the one that changed the deed on the rental property. Illegal. Fraud. Forgery. I met with the family law attorney, Catherine Park, who looked at everything and smiled. "Mrs. Mitchell, this is one of the clearest cases of financial abuse and coercion I've seen in years. Your daughter has grounds for immediate emergency custody, return of all marital assets, and a restraining order. Possibly criminal charges, too. How fast can we move? With everything you've gathered? I can file tomorrow and have a hearing within a week." "Do it." I went back to see Sophia on Tuesday afternoon. Same food court. Same scared eyes. "How are you holding up?" "Okay." She didn't look okay. She looked worse than before. Emma asked me yesterday why I don't sleep in her room anymore. I didn't know what to tell her. Tell her that's going to change very soon. She looked at me with desperate hope. "Did you find something?" "I found everything. And Sophia, I need you to be strong for just a little while longer. This Friday, we're going to court. You, me, and the best family lawyer in Los Angeles. We're getting Emma back. We're getting your money back. We're getting everything back. What if they fight it? Let them try." I pulled out a folder. I have proof of fraud, forgery, financial abuse, parental alienation, and unlawful rental of marital property. I have photos, videos, bank records, and witness statements. Your husband and mother-in-law committed at least 6 different crimes. They can either cooperate or they can go to jail. Their choice. Sophia stared at the folder like it was a life raft. "Mom, I don't know what to say." "Say you're going to be okay. Say you're going to let me help you, and say you're going to stand up in that courtroom on Friday and tell the judge exactly what they've done to you." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Okay, I can do that. I know you can. You're my daughter." I squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than you think, and you're definitely stronger than they are." Friday morning came with clear skies and that particular California sunshine that makes everything seem possible. I picked Sophia up at 8 a.m. She was wearing the only professional outfit she had left, a black dress that was now too big for her, but Catherine had said we could use that too. Show the judge how much weight she'd lost under their control. In the courthouse hallway, we ran into Richard and Diane with their lawyer. Richard looked shocked to see Sophia with an attorney. Diane looked furious. "What is this?" Diane demanded. "You can't afford a lawyer." "Actually, Mrs. Reynolds, I can," Catherine said smoothly. "I'm representing Sophia pro bono. Or rather, her mother hired me. And we're here to address some very serious concerns about your treatment of my client." "Treatment? We've given her everything. A place to live, food, a garage," I said coldly. "You gave her a garage to sleep in while you kept her daughter away from her and stole her money." "That's not we didn't," Richard stammered. Their lawyer, a young man who clearly wasn't prepared for this, looked at the folder Catherine was holding. "What do you have there?" "Evidence. Lots of it. Would you like to see it before we go before the judge? It might save your clients some embarrassment." In a conference room, Catherine laid it all out. The photos, the videos, the bank records, the forged signatures, the rental income Richard had hidden, the garage where Sophia lived, the alienation of Emma. I watched Richard and Diane's faces go white. "We can explain," Diane tried. "Mrs. Reynolds, you cannot explain forgery," Catherine said. "You cannot explain financial abuse. You cannot explain keeping a woman in a garage while you live in a $500,000 house. And you definitely cannot explain telling a 4-year-old child that her mother doesn't love her." "We were just trying to help," Richard said weakly. "Sophia was struggling financially, and You took everything from her," I interrupted. "Her home, her car, her money, her daughter. You isolated her, controlled her, and when she tried to get help, you threatened to make sure she never saw Emma again. That's not helping. That's abuse." Their lawyer looked at them. "Is any of this untrue?" They couldn't answer. "I'm going to recommend you settle," he said quietly. "Because if this goes before a judge, you're both facing criminal charges." The settlement took 3 hours to negotiate. Sophia got Emma, full custody, effective immediately. Sophia got the house on Maple Street back, plus all the rental income Richard had collected, over $22,000. Sophia got her car back. Sophia got access to all her bank accounts, plus reimbursement for the money Richard had taken. Richard got supervised visitation with Emma twice a month until he completed parenting classes and therapy. Diane got nothing. No visitation rights, no contact with Emma, no contact with Sophia. And if either of them violated any term of the agreement, Catherine would file criminal charges. All of them. We walked out of that courthouse at 4 p.m. with an emergency order that let us go directly to Diane's house with a police escort to get Emma and Sophia's belongings. The look on Diane's face when we arrived with 2 officers was something I'd remember for the rest of my life. "You can't do this," she said. "Emma needs stability. She needs her mother," I said. "And now she has her." Emma ran to Sophia the moment she saw her. "Mommy, are you taking me home?" "Yes, baby." Sophia knelt down and hugged her tight. "We're going home. Just you and me. And Gamma? Gamma too." We packed up Emma's things and Sophia's belongings from the garage. It didn't take long, they'd left her with so little. Richard stood in the driveway, looking lost. "Sophia, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Mom said it was the best thing for everyone." "Richard, I don't want to hear it," Sophia said quietly. "You chose your mother over your wife and daughter. You let her treat me like garbage. You stole from me, and you let Emma think I didn't love her." She buckled Emma into the car seat. "You'll see her twice a month, supervised. That's it. We're done." We drove to the house on Maple Street as the sun was setting. The tenants had already moved out, Catherine had expedited that too, and we had the keys. Emma ran through the rooms, excited. "Mommy, is this our house? Are we staying here?" "We're staying here, baby." "Forever?" "Forever." That night, after Emma was asleep in her own bedroom, her actual bedroom with the princess wallpaper and the toy box, Sophia and I sat in the kitchen drinking tea. "I can't believe it's over," she said. "I keep waiting for them to show up, for this to be a dream." "It's not a dream. It's real. You're free, Sophia." She started crying then. Real crying, the kind she'd been holding in for months. I held her while she sobbed, my strong daughter who'd survived something no one should have to survive. "Thank you, Mom," she finally said. "Thank you for believing me. For fighting for me." "Always," I said. "I'm your mother. That's what we do. 6 months later, Emma had her 5th birthday party in the backyard of the house on Maple Street. The oak tree was full of leaves, and we hung a swing from one of the branches. Sophia had gained back the weight she'd lost. The dark circles were gone. She smiled again, real smiles that reached her eyes. She'd also been promoted at work, started therapy, made new friends at Emma's preschool. Richard had completed 3 months of the parenting classes. He saw Emma twice a month, and according to the supervisor, he was actually trying to be a better father. Maybe one day he'd be someone Emma could trust again. Maybe not. That was up to him. Diane had tried to contact Sophia twice, both times through lawyers, demanding grandmother's rights. Both times, Catherine had shut it down with a single letter referencing the evidence we still had. We hadn't heard from her in 4 months. As I watched Emma blow out her candles and make a wish, Sophia came and stood next to me. "What did you wish for when you were blowing out candles at 5?" she asked. "Probably a pony," I said. "What did you wish for?" "At 5? I don't remember, but I know what I'd wish for now." "What's that?" She looked at Emma, laughing with her friends, wearing a princess crown that was slightly crooked. "Nothing," Sophia said. "I don't need to wish for anything. I have everything I need right here." I put my arm around my daughter, my strong, brave daughter who'd survived the worst and come out the other side. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." The sun shone through the leaves of the oak tree, casting dancing shadows on the grass. Emma's laughter rang out clear and bright. And somewhere in that perfect moment, I thought about how family wasn't just about blood or marriage certificates or legal documents. Family was about showing up, fighting for each other, standing together when someone tried to tear you apart. Richard and Diane had forgotten that. They'd thought they could control and manipulate without consequences. They'd been wrong. And my daughter, who'd been beaten down and controlled and made to feel worthless, had learned something important. She was stronger than she knew. She had people who loved her, and she deserved better. We all do. As the party wound down and parents started picking up their kids, Emma came running over with frosting on her face and joy in her eyes. "Gamma, Gamma! Can we have pizza for dinner, please?" "Whatever you want, sweetheart." "Mommy too?" Sophia laughed. "Yes, Mommy too." Emma cheered and ran off to tell her friends goodbye. "She's happy," Sophia said softly. "Really, truly happy. I wasn't sure if she would be after everything." "Kids are resilient," I said. "Especially when they're loved, and Emma knows she's loved. Because of you." "No. Because of you. You fought for her, Sophia. Even when you were scared, even when you thought you couldn't win, you kept trying. That's what matters. That's what Emma will remember." We stood there together, mother and daughter, watching Emma play under the oak tree in the golden late afternoon light. And I thought about that day in the food court 6 months ago. The worn sneakers, the faded uniform, the fear in my daughter's eyes. We'd come a long way since then. We'd come home. The worn sneakers,